Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston. He is your host, Jacob Boyers. Jacob, Cats back in the winning column again. And, like I mentioned on the previous podcast, get out to an early start and kind of keep that lead and just let it grow throughout the entire game. The Cats win 95-64 over LSU. And on senior night, there's a really good showing from the team. What were some of your big takeaways from Tuesday night's action?
Yeah, we both picked pretty big wins before the game, but I don't think either one of us had it near 30. But yeah, just a really good kind of feel-good win on senior night. Pretty much just about everybody played well, gave you some positives. All six of your seniors contributed, and then not to toot my own horn, but the guy I told you that would have the best game, Otega Owe, came out and had a huge bounce-back game, and I think exactly what you want to see. And some good momentum after that disappointing Auburn game. I told you I thought LSU was probably the worst team in the conference. I still feel that way, but they haven't lost by 30 to anybody else this year, so still take it, and I'm still excited. And the team found a little bit of a rhythm last night.
Yeah, and while you're going to go ahead and toot your own horn, I'm going to throw a wrench right into it. You said all six seniors contributed in this game. Only had five of them contribute. Jackson obviously not playing in this one. So I'm just going to throw that in.
I got a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, you were tooting your own horn. I had to humble you and bring you back down to earth really quick. But yeah, I mean, obviously the seniors actually didn't play too much in this game because it was such a runaway. Yeah. Guys that, we've come to expect that had to play great for us to win games like these just didn't necessarily have to. Andrew Carr in this game, 8 points, 6 rebounds on 3 of 7 from the field. Not too much to say about Andrew in this one. I didn't really have any takes, but 22 minutes, 6 rebounds. I thought that was probably one of his better showings in quite some time.
Yeah, definitely. And then I know we'll go player by player, but just real quick, I mean, how awesome was it to see the game that you got from Ansley? The guy, we talked about how he struggled so much in the last 4 or 5 games prior to this, really since maybe that Tennessee game. And to come out and go 6 of 7 from the floor, 3 of 4 from the three-point line, kind of got back into his rhythm. And, it's just a guy that all year he said all the right things. He talks about how much he loves playing here. He probably more than anybody, I mean, even guys that grow up in the state, I don't know, understand it as much as Ansley Amador for some reason. But, I mean, the guy, I couldn't have been happier for him last night.
Yeah, not even just Ansley, the entire bench. I mean, 43 points off the bench in this game. We literally had, 4 or 5 in the previous game against Auburn. So just a complete 180. And even early in the game, it was a bit of a question. We took a good lead when the starters came in. We did that full change, 5 new guys into the lineup. And then LSU got right back into it, had to put the starters back in. But it was good to see that, some of these guys get a little bit more comfortable down the stretch. And the first thing I saw Pope kind of do this, he left some starters in with some of the bench players instead of doing those wholesale changes. And I think that's going to be real good for us going down the line if he's able to do that. Because it seems like consistently game in, game out, after that first media timeout, feels like we have, anywhere from a 4 to an 8 point lead. And then the backups, the reserves come in, and that lead's just gone and vanished. So I'm really looking forward to, maybe this new substitution pattern that it looks like Coach Pope's working on.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to comment too much on Pope's substitution patterns, especially after last pod where, I said I was praising him. He just kind of let his 5 best guys go and played the 5 starters as much as he could. And, I said I thought that was the recipe going forward. And then 10 minutes after we finish up here on the coach's show, he's like, yeah, that was a mistake. That won't happen again. So, but no, I agree with you. I mean, you just can't make the wholesome changes. You see it, a lot of these guys can give you minutes and, be efficient in certain opportunities, but the 5 of them aren't good enough to go out there and play all together. They got to be mixed in with, Lamont or Otega or Amari, kind of depending on who you're getting a breather to. And you saw it as soon as, those guys came out, you make the change, and then as soon as Lamont and Owe go back in, Kentucky gets the lead right back.
Yeah, and it was good to see because especially, I mean, you just saw how much more comfortable those guys off the bench are when they do have a guy that they can give the ball to and feel comfortable, like Otega, like Lamont, like you mentioned. Even Kobe Bray, I think, has really stepped up in that to be a primary ball handler that's able to get it up and down the court. I mean, if you would have told me in this game Amari Williams only plays 18 minutes and doesn't get into foul trouble, I probably would have been just, flipping the table, flipping the desk, doing something. But, I mean, Amari, 9 points, 6 rebounds on 4 of 10 shooting, 3 assists as well, had some nice dimes in there and 2 steals. Good game from Amari in limited action. It's good to get him, maybe a little bit of extra rest while we got Missouri coming up on Saturday and obviously the SEC tournament right around the corner.
Yeah, this was the kind of game I didn't mind Amari getting a breather. Like, I like to kind of work that in. You're up, 27 at halftime. It was never really much of a contest. So to have him play limited minutes, to your point, get a good rest up right now, because we're about to make the push. Like, you got a big game, obviously, Saturday that's got a lot of postseason implications on the line. And then, obviously, then you're right into SEC tournament where you could be playing 4, or if you go on a heck of a run and lose Saturday, you could play 5 straight days right before the NCAA tournament. So glad to be able to mix in Amari a nice breather. But yeah, I thought he played really well in the limited 18 minutes he played.
Yeah, and it was really good to see because, continuing off of that Auburn game where he played really well, he was able to take care of the ball out there in this game.
Yeah.
No turnovers and 3 assists. I thought that was a key point to this game. But somebody obviously didn't play well against Auburn. Otega Owe comes back, has one of his better games as a Wildcat, 24 points, 8 rebounds on 9 of 11 shooting, very efficient from the floor, and 6 of 6 from the free throw line. It's just one of those games, we've said, prior to the Jackson Robinson injury, wanting taking anywhere from 8 to 12 shots. This was that perfect medium, Obviously, I don't think he's going to go 9 for 11 every time. But I love the energy that you got from Otega while he was out there. The 8 rebounds, I think that just shows you, when he's locked in on both sides of the floor, you just get truly just a difference maker. And we didn't see it against Auburn. We saw it against Oklahoma. Didn't see it against Alabama. Hopefully he's not starting to do, the BG aspect where, he's good one game and bad the next. Because we really need him for this Missouri game coming up.
Yeah, by far, in my opinion, his most complete and all-around game as in the Kentucky uniform. To your point, 24 points, 8 rebounds. He has 3 steals on that end, 3 assists. Did have a couple turnovers, but I just thought, very sound. And, we've talked about it all season, when he is engaged on the defensive side, there's just so much more for this team, especially now that you got Lamont back and Lamont's getting healthier and healthier. Like, if you can keep Otega engaged on the defensive end, that, a lot of your problems defensively might solve themselves with 2 really good on-ball defenders, and Otega has all the tools to be that. So hopefully he can kind of keep that rolling, and, obviously you want the offense to be there, especially with the injuries.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more on Otega. And just transitioning into Lamont, you mentioned the defense. Lamont, I thought this was, while the stats might not show it, I thought this was one of Lamont's better games since he's come back from being injured. 5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 of 5 shooting. Finally knocked down a 3. Feels like it's been a while since he's had one of those. But the real key thing I loved, obviously the 2 steals, but the 5 assists, only 1 turnover. I'm not expecting him to have a 5-to-1 turnover or assist to turnover ratio. But I think for us to go deep into March, Lamont's going to have to be a lot better with the decision making, especially because we don't want, while it's nice Amari continues to rack up assists, you still rather run that through the point guard. And I would love for Lamont to be able to keep having numbers like that.
Absolutely, and especially after, Saturday, what did he go? No assists to 5 turnovers. So, it was nice to kind of see him get back in the flow for him as well. And to your point, the stat sheet doesn't, nothing jumps off the stat sheet as like a wow stat, but I thought he played really well. As to your point, gave you a lot of good minutes defensively. Played a pretty clean game. Had one of the better plus minuses. I know pretty much everybody did, but still, if you tell me my starting point guard against anybody's getting plus 27, I'm going to be pretty happy.
Yeah. Yeah, mostly everybody on this team had a great plus minus. There was a couple guys that, Trent Noah and Travis Perry on the Kentucky guys, obviously they had the worst one in here at -3. But, like you said, it's a 30-point game. Obviously, Grant Darbyshire, Zach Tao, and Walker Horn. -1 in 0.2 seconds. their plus minus per 40 has just got to be horrendous.
Yeah. Well, that, and then I know Trent had the -3, but he did make the big three right there at the end to get the over. I don't know how many people follow Barstool, but I saw Big Cat he had the over and thought it was dead the entire game, and then Trent Noah hits that three to push it over. So that one made a lot of people in the sports betting world a little happy.
Yeah, I don't know if it made Mark Pope happy though. There was 20 seconds on the clock. We didn't have to take that. He takes that easy.
Every once in a while, you got to get the over. You got to do it for the people. I appreciate it, Trent.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to be putting those allegations on Trent. I don't need any, investigations coming down from Indianapolis and the NCAA. I mean, Kobe Brea, we've mentioned him, continues to grow for this team. He continues to be asked different things game in and game out. This game, I mean, he still played 30 minutes, even though I would have liked for him to have gotten out a little bit earlier. I think we'll even mention that, obviously, with Lamont Butler. There was points in the second half where I'm like, hey, man, guy's banged up. We're up 30. Get him out of there. Pope kept these guys in, especially outside of the two bigs, kept everybody in for, their usual minutes. Kobe Bryant only had 6 points, 2 of 7 from the three. Didn't really give you the outside numbers that we have been, accustomed to seeing from him lately. Only 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover, but 32 on the plus minus.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. There's not really anybody I'm gonna complain about after last night's game. Kobe, to your point, didn't really grab a ton of rebounds, but to be honest, I don't really know what to say about him. I thought he played well. Another game where you kind of saw him play better defense. I think that's something that will continue to grow, and obviously with a 27-point first half lead and pretty much up 30 the entire second half, you're not really asking him to do a ton. So I understand why he's not out there firing up a bunch of more shots or trying to drive a little more. I thought he played, again, just solid defense, and take that from him in a 30-point win.
Yeah, and the thing I'm most happy about this game, obviously outside of the win, is that we just got out of there healthy. I mean, you're getting to the point now where the next guy that goes down, I mean, that might be debilitating for your March run, whether it's the SEC or the NCAA tournament. So it's good to see us get out and get healthy. And like I mentioned, I just loved how we got off to a fast start in this game.
Yeah.
Fast starts, it seems like we either come out to just like the coldest start, we try to fight our way back, or we come out to, just even throughout like the first 4 to 5 minutes, then the line change comes in, and next thing you know, we're down 8. I love to see that this team just got that lead and was consistently built on it. And a lot of that is credited to the bench, and I do believe the substitution patterns of Coach Pope in this one. I love the ability of getting guys in when you're not expecting them to do a lot more than they're used to. Because when you're making the rotation where it's Trent Noah, Brandon Garrison, Travis Perry, Ansley, and 1 starter, you're putting a lot on those extra guys to step up. When you're mixing them in, maybe 3 guys off the bench and 2 starters, or 3 starters with 2 guys off the bench, I think that's where we can see this team to where we can kind of hide that bench liability that we've had as of late.
Yeah, and I think, that's kind of what we've asked for all year. And like when I mentioned shorten down the rotation, like part of when you shorten it, you're not putting as many guys in at once, right? So you're still leaving some of your starters out there. I mean, again, these guys are all, I think, solid backups and can play a role on a really good team. But to your point, you can't put all 5 of them out there at the same time and expect it to work. BG, he had a really good game. Got off that trend of 1 good game and then 6 bad ones. I mean, he followed up Auburn pretty nicely. But yeah, I think it obviously helps him to be out there with some better playmakers. He does look better and more comfortable if you got Lamont and Ortega out there. Especially when we're pushing the basketball off of either a turnover or long rebound, and then BG can kind of run the floor. That's where we really see him shine at. So he obviously is not looking as good if you're playing him out there with Travis Perry, Trent Noah, and Kobe Brea, and you're just kind of playing more of your half-court offense.
Yeah, you're asking him to do so much more when he's in with guys like that. You're asking him to rebound, contest shots, and still be able to run the offense through him. You're asking so much of him in times like that. But like you mentioned, if you were out there with, Kobe Brea or Lamont Butler Ortega, take some of that offensive strain out of him. And I think that's when you start to see him, people are sagging off. He's been hitting that three a lot lately. It's been really good to see. He shot 5 of them this game, 2 for 5. I mean, I don't know if the recipe of success is, 5 threes from Brandon Garrison and 12 shots from the field. But, I mean, at least in this game, he was 50% from the field and 40% from three, 15 points. I mean, I'm still going to be frustrated with the 21 minutes and only 2 rebounds from your center. But, I mean, in this game, he didn't really come back to haunt you at all.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know I'm trying to pull up what he's shooting on the year, but, like, it's still, every time he shoots one, I feel like I'm screaming at the TV. But, I mean, to his credit, he's putting them in at probably about as efficient as just about anybody else on the team this year. He's taking, obviously, less of them, but, he's making a decent little percentage. So it's hard to get too mad. But, yeah, every time he pulls it, I start to yell, and then it seems like it finds the bottom of the net.
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of shot quality we're getting from Brandon Garrison. Because, I mean, he takes contested twos or like fadeaway twos that I'm just fully against. But I'm here for Brandon Garrison shooting the open three when he has it. Especially when, I mean, we go into some games and they're playing him almost inside the paint at the free throw line while he's out there. Go ahead and knock it down. But something I love from BG in this game as well, 4 assists, only 1 turnover, 3 steals and 1 block. He was big on the defensive side of the ball. And he, almost like Ortega, it feels like when he's engaged on the defensive side of the ball, he really gets that offense going. Yeah. Those 2 guys, it seems like really they're just carbon copies of each other from that aspect. Obviously, Ortega's been a lot more consistent than Brandon Garrison has been. But I look forward to Brandon, hopefully just continuing this run. It's 2 in a row of games he's played well. Go to Missouri, get that 3rd one in a row. Now maybe you're not feeling as, negative about him coming off the bench if Amari or Andrew Carr were in foul trouble.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Brandon Garrison, obviously you want to see him engaged on the defensive end. That's been one of my biggest complaints all year. But 2, and then on the offensive side, just don't try to do too much. I mean, if he just kind of plays his role, I think you see it in a game like last night where he can, go 6 of 12 from the field, get a couple open looks, knock them down. I don't need him to ever do another turnaround jumper like he did, I think it was Texas. With 22 seconds on the shot clock, I don't need him to do a turnaround jumper from the elbow. But, I mean, other than that, just play within your role and then be more engaged on the defensive side of the ball. And, you can get, 15 really solid minutes out of BG going forward.
Yes, and somebody I think that really played their role perfectly in this game, you've already preluded to him earlier. Yep. Ansley Almanor in this one, 15 points in 18 minutes, 6 of 7 from the floor and 3 for 4 from 3. Literally gave you almost nothing else. Did get a steal in there as well. But, I mean, that's just what you need from Ansley. I'm not saying you need 15 points from him every game. But, I mean, I'm cool with him shooting 4 threes every game, especially if they're good looks that he's getting up. Because right now, I think he's second on the team in three-point percentage. I love to see Ansley getting those three-pointers up. And I know he's not quick enough to guard the threes in today's game. But I kind of like that lineup where he's out there at the 3 because, I mean, let's call it how it is. We're going to give up our points regardless. And for Ansley to be out there, I don't want him at the 4. He's not big or strong enough for it. I'd like to see him at the 3 a little bit more often. I mean, obviously, we're kind of confronted with a little bit of issues where we don't really have another 4 or 5 outside of BG, so he's kind of been thrust into that role. But I just kind of wanted to throw that to your attention. What do you think about maybe getting Ansley more minutes at the 3? Not a lot, but just a little bit.
I think we've talked about it before, and I think we disagreed then, and I still tend to disagree a little bit now. I think you got to play. Like, for me, I want as much athleticism on the perimeter as possible. And you obviously just don't get that from Ansley. But back to the point of just this game, obviously a really, really good game from him. I was really happy for him. Like I said, I alluded to it earlier. The guy he gets what it means to put on the Kentucky jersey maybe as well as anybody we've ever had here. The kid, just every chance he gets, is just talking about how thankful he is to be here. And, to go 3 of 4, it was back to, where he had that stretch of SEC games where he was playing really well. We kind of said it, very similar stat line to this. He might only give you maybe 1 rebound if you're lucky, but if he can go out there and knock down 3 threes, you're going to take it.
Yeah, there was that stretch at the beginning of SEC play where it seemed like he was getting like 4 to 5 rebounds every game. I don't know what happened to that. I'd love to get that back a little bit, but I mean, I'm not going to complain when Ansley's shooting 6 or 7 from the floor and 3 for 4 from 3. somebody who the 3-pointer finally looked good, and he looked good on the offensive side of the ball for once. Colin Chandler. And what did I tell you? If there was a prop bet for him getting his pocket picked, it happened in this game, I would have been rich. I mean, I don't know who's going to take it. I mean, FanDuel, DraftKings, whoever wants to do it, I'll bet the house.
You'll bankrupt them.
That's
why it's not on the board.
And I plan on doing it if it ever ends up there. But Colin Chandler, 3 of 6 from 3-point line, only 3 of 8 from the field, but 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He looks a lot more confident on the offense side of the ball. The shot's still a little bit of a work in progress. I mean, this game he was able to hit some of them. And he was taking them, they were contested. Not a lot of these were open threes. He was taking contested threes. It was good to see Colin hit those. Now, if I could get him to, not get picked quite as easily, I think he can play a lot more.
Yeah, he's really kind of growing into the player I thought we kind of all envisioned him being at the beginning of the year. We thought he would be the most advanced freshman. He obviously is by far the most athletic of any of the freshmen, and really as athletic as anybody on the team. So we were kind of saying we thought he would be one of your first kind of guys off the bench beginning of the year, and then obviously didn't really start out that way. But I would say as much as anybody, he's gotten better throughout the season as well as anybody else on this team. And if he can kind of continue to take those little steps, going into March and then possibly even next year, I know we're not looking forward to that yet, but just little steps here and there, and he can kind of keep giving you that 15 to 20 really solid minutes, I would be ecstatic.
And we're definitely at the point, for me at least, he's got to be the first guard off the bench at this moment.
I would agree with
right
that.
Now, what you're getting from Trent and Travis, we're going to talk about him here in a little bit. You're just not getting nearly enough for them to warrant the playing time. Obviously, Colin's going to irritate me with the picks that ends up happening to him, but he's giving you at least solid defense and that athleticism, like you mentioned. And he's really one of our only guards that rebounds at a significant clip. It feels like every game you see, if he's playing more than 10 minutes, he's probably got at least 4 rebounds. And just that effort and, defensive prowess that he's kind of been giving throughout the game and throughout the season, especially as of late, it's really been nice to see. And I think it's kind of warranted him being the first guard off the bench.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, he just plays with a high motor at all times. The guy is, you saw it in that Alabama game where he had 4 fouls and, or 5 fouls in 8 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, let's back off of that one, though. Let's not do that one too much.
I get it, but, also, the guy's just out there playing hard, and if you're going to have a crew that's going to call every little ticky-tack foul, he might get himself in some trouble, but he's going to go out there and do his best to make some plays on the defensive side of the ball, which is not something that this team has, outside of him.
No, especially, defensive side of the ball, making plays and doing stuff like that. It's Lamont, Ortega for a splash, breakaway dunk, something like that.
A couple of Amari blocks, and that's about it.
Yeah, a couple of Amari blocks. And speaking of the blocks in general, from our big men, it feels like we're contesting a lot more shots as of late. I don't know if that's, a coaching change, that's something like that, or if we're just finally getting ourselves into position a little bit better on those screens and ball screens and stuff like that. I feel like we have been playing it a little bit better as of late. Obviously, we got killed in it with the Alabama game, but that's to be expected with a guy like Sears. I feel like we have been contesting a lot more shots as of late. What are you thinking about the big men contesting at the rim?
Yeah, you've really seen it, especially from Amari all SEC play. There were a lot of things that frustrated me. And back to Garrison, it's all about, I feel like, just effort with him. You saw how engaged he was in the second half against Oklahoma. If you get that kind of effort from him, he can be a legitimate threat as a rim protector. It's just you weren't really getting that for a vast majority of the season. So if he wants to be engaged, I think you could have 2 very formidable rim protectors in Amari and BG that you can kind of rotate in and out.
Yeah, and a lot of those are just about changing the shot shape, just causing a lot more
Absolutely.
misses around the rim too. And it feels like that's something that other teams were just capitalizing every time they were in the paint. It was either a foul and one, or it was just an easy bucket. And I've seen over the past 3 to 4 games, just the shots have changed a lot. They're either going, a little bit higher arcing, trying to go into the body and not drawing fouls. Just in that situation, I feel like they've changed a lot of these shot archetypes, and that's really allowed these teams to be less efficient from 2.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the N1s too are because they were kind of playing with their hands down. Our big men at times, it feels like they go to kind of swipe the ball when the guy's bringing it up rather than waiting until, the guy's at his peak of his shot and trying to contest it from there. Like we're almost trying to get a steal before they gather for the shot. So if they can play engaged and play with their hands up, we got two guys that should be very good rim protectors. And to your point, I feel like it has made a difference over these last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, and let's hope they keep continuing to do it because obviously, it's March. They would say wait till March, playing in March. It's March finally, and I don't know about you, but two guys I really wasn't expecting to be playing much in March. Travis Perry, 8 minutes in this game. Even with the Jackson Robinson news about obviously not coming back this season, I still see his time dwindling more and more each game. Even in this game where he had a 30-point lead, he only plays 8 minutes. Seems like he's maybe your 9th guy right now? I think Trent Noah's probably a little bit over him at this minute. Obviously, Brandon Garrison and Ansley Almanor. I think we're to the point now where as long as Colin Chandler, isn't turning the ball over, stays out of foul trouble, I think Travis Perry might be your last guy that's in the rotation off the bench.
Well, yeah, that was the point I was going to make. If you're getting these kind of minutes from Colin Chandler, then, yeah, Travis Perry is going to be the 8th or 9th man. The problem with all three of these guys, and it's to be expected, right? They're freshmen, is there's a level of inconsistency. It felt like, especially all SEC play, one guy one of them could play really well. We saw Trent Noah have 2 great games against Tennessee. You've seen Colin Chandler have some really nice games. Travis Perry, I thought, had some really good minutes and games, especially kind of being thrusted into a starting role that he was nowhere near ready for, and I thought he played as well as he could have. So, but I do agree, if Colin Chandler is going to play like how he played last night and like how we've seen him play a couple other times this year, then I'm perfectly fine with sliding Travis down to the 9 spot.
Yeah, and we got to get some 3-point shooting from Travis right now. He's really just taking minutes is really what it feels like. We made fun of Ansley a little bit because he had some of those games where he'd play 15 minutes and not record a stat. He almost did it again, against Auburn. Travis is doing just about the same right now. I really don't see outside of, spelling Lamont or, if Colin needs a break or if Colin's just not playing well that game, like you mentioned, the freshman inconsistencies that he's shown. I just don't see a way in which Travis, if he's not hitting that 3, should be getting anywhere more than if he's getting more than 8 minutes, I'm going to be furious.
Yeah, I am surprised with his 3-point shooting this year. We saw him in high school, and I get it, it's different competition, and then we heard all off season the guy is just as money as it comes. Again, he scored 5,000 points in the state of Kentucky. I know he's not playing the greatest competition in the world, but regardless of what level you're playing at, open threes are an open 3. So maybe it's just he just needs a game where he goes out there and makes 2 for 3, and then he does that the rest of the year and carries it into next season. But at this point, we're in March. You got to play the guys that are going to contribute for you. And if Travis isn't making threes, I do agree with you. There's not really a whole lot he gives you. He did have as many rebounds as BG, though.
Yeah,
I would like to point that out.
You're also pointing out the flaw of BG I hate the most. So, but I'd love for just to get something from Travis like we get from Ansley, where you just know he can be that consistent 3-point threat. Obviously, Travis would have a lot more responsibilities. You have to get the ball up the court and guard the 1. But him and Trent, it seems like they just never play well at the same game, except for maybe that Tennessee game. They both played okay. Trent in this game, he played 12 minutes, 2 points, and I don't even know if I necessarily counted 2 points. It was 20 seconds, shot clock was off. Really didn't need to score it. Gave you 2 rebounds and assist. Just not really much for me to say about Trent Noah. He's probably that 8th guy just ahead of Travis Perry at this moment with the rotations.
Yeah, and Trent, similar to what I said about Travis with Colin Chandler, Trent, you don't need him to play as much if you're going to get these kind of games from Ansley. So I think it just kind of all depends who's kind of playing well, but Ansley being a 5th-year senior, you expect it to be him, and I expect Ansley to be the one that if one of them's going to play 15 plus minutes in a close game, I would prefer it to be Ansley over Trent at this point.
Yeah, and I obviously couldn't agree with you anymore because, ever since that Tennessee game, Trent's 3-point shot's been struggling a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still taking them, he's still getting them up, but not nearly at the clip he was earlier in the season. Because there for a while he was rivaling Kobe Bryant with his 3-point percentage. They're closer to the start of SEC play. Since then, everything's really just kind of dwindled.
Yeah, he's not making a lot of shots. He still though, he still makes a handful of those hustle plays a game that I think are obviously extremely valuable. It feels like he does grab a loose ball, usually in a very key moment. We saw it in, the Tennessee games. He did it at Oklahoma, I know we talked about, where he grabbed that rebound and made a really nice pass to Travis Perry. So there's plays where he's giving you valuable plays that Oklahoma game, if he doesn't grab that loose ball and Oklahoma gets it, who knows? It was a 1-point final, every possession mattered so much. So there's still some things to like from Trent Noah, but to your point, I still wouldn't mind seeing him play less and less as we kind of tighten this rotation for March.
Yeah, because if the bench is playing less and less, you can guarantee that means the starters are playing really well, or the 6th or 7th guys coming off the bench are playing well as well, and you're not really. I feel like once we get to Travis and Trent, we're just kind of searching for those answers that we haven't found.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when they do come in, they make the most of their opportunities. Speaking of guys who, got to make the most of their opportunities, 0.2 seconds, and none of them wanted to record a stat. Grant Darbyshire, Zach Tao, and Walker Horn. Come on, guys. Make the most of your time out there. All they came in was for some cheers. None of them grabbed the rebound. None of them put up a shot in the 0.2 seconds that they had left. I would have heaved it from full court, give a nice little chance, something.
Yeah, well, I think Zach Tao made his moment worth it, especially Pope giving him the shout out and talking about him for 5+ minutes on the post game. A really cool story there. A guy that didn't even have a jersey until last night. Pope called it a day-to-day contract, and
that's wild.
Pretty much just a practice player, doesn't even have a jersey, and Pope's exactly right, man. You put that jersey on one time, and BBN embraces you, and a really cool moment for him, and I thought it was just really special.
Yeah, it was really special. I kind of wanted them to get in a little earlier.
You probably could have. You could have forced them in.
Had a 30-point lead. I know Pope says, we want to win these games by however much we can to get the better seeding.
Yeah.
And with, the bracketology coming here soon, I'm sure that's why he had him in there that late. But
you could have snuck him in with a minute and a half or a minute.
I'm not bad at actions here. I think he could have gotten him in a lot earlier. I would rather have seen one of those three getting that shot up attempt than Trent Noah.
But then maybe you don't hit the over. You see, there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, a lot. Who knows? Are you saying Pope's in the pocket here?
No, absolutely not.
Allegations?
Nope, I'm just saying that everything happens for a reason, and that's the way life works. And Pope probably didn't have that reason, but you know what? I'll take it.
Sounds like a guy who bet the over in the last game. Yeah, obviously, huge game on Saturday. We played Missouri for the first time this year. Let's just talk about Missouri. Worst team in the conference last year.
Unreal.
Ranked 15th now with some big wins over the likes of, Alabama. They've obviously, I wouldn't say big win with beating Arkansas. Played Tennessee to 4 points. Beat Mississippi State and Ole Miss. This team's got some really good wins. They have some bad losses as well. What are you thinking about, or what are you looking for in this Kentucky-Missouri game?
Well, yeah, they're really good, and they've been really good at home. So obviously a better team at home, like a lot of the teams in the SEC this year. But yeah, just real quick, to go from they didn't win an SEC game last year, right?
No.
They went 0-18, and to turn that around, and to be a potential top 4 seed in the tournament, in the SEC tournament, 21-8, 15 overall, Dennis Gates has done a heck of a job, and
Coach of the year. I know we brought it up before. He's got to be the coach of the year.
It's hard not to, and they brought pretty much the same roster. They did add Marquez Warwick from NKU, who
I knew you were going to squeeze him.
He's playing some games 20+ minutes. He's playing others too, so it's hard to kind of get a gauge on him. But that's probably the opponent I'm going to know the most about throughout the entire year. I think I watched every single one of his games over the past 3 years. But yeah, Saturday is just another another Saturday in the SEC, right? You're playing another really tough team on the road, so Kentucky's going to have to bring it. But this is without a doubt a game Kentucky can win.
Yeah, and this is one that Kentucky needs to win. I mean, think about the bracketology seeding that's on the line. Potentially, you're either a 3 seed, 4 seed, maybe even, with an early bounce in the SEC tournament and a loss here, it could be a 5. I mean, there's lots of possibilities are on the line. And even for just the SEC tournament, you got the potential to be the 5 seed all the way down to, I think you said the 10 was out now, so 5 all the way down to the 9 seed. And obviously, a lot of that starts with Kentucky getting a win against Missouri. Obviously, to get to that 5, if we're wanting to get there, we would need Missouri to lose tonight, which they're currently playing. They're losing to Oklahoma by 13 as we speak. So, again, that, like you mentioned, they're a lot better team at home. They're at Oklahoma, struggling right now against the Sooners. But this team's been really good, and this is a huge win for Kentucky. I mean, how long has it been since we've won back-to-back games? It feels like forever. I don't know if it's actually been that long, but it feels like we haven't done it in months.
Well,
obviously, we're 9-8 in the conference, so that's got a lot to do with it. But I mean, this game is huge.
South Carolina, Tennessee was the last time we won back to back. But who knows? Maybe in a couple weeks we'll win 6 in a row. And
don't tempt me with a good time.
Have a little bit of a party.
I will honor up my news sectional to light on fire if that were to happen. I'll honor it out there for it.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be lighting it on fire in the parking lot. But yeah, I mean, obviously it would be huge. You win this game, you take off the table of playing on Wednesday. You don't have to see what other teams do. I don't know. I've tried so hard to understand this. What can happen for the SEC and
between 4 different schools.
And then it's like weird. Like there's like a scenario where you can tie with one team, but then if another team ties in there and it's a 3-way tie, you go all the way down. I can't keep up with it, but I'm like 95% sure if they win, they're automatically at least the 8. So obviously a huge game. We were talking. We would love to see the Cats get to at least like the 7 seed, and you're playing in more convenient times. You don't have to. You're maybe playing Tennessee on Friday rather than an Auburn. So huge game. But I mean, Missouri, they've lost 2 of their last 3. And to your point, what was I thinking? They could, if they lose to Oklahoma tonight, they're going to lose 2 of their last 3. And they're not going to want to lose. Well, no, yeah, they would have lost 3 straight. So, like, they're going to do everything they can. They're going to be playing on fire on Saturday.
Yeah, and I believe if we win that game against Missouri and they lose this game, if Missouri loses to Oklahoma, that would put us above Missouri because we would both be 10-8 in the conference. So I think that would leave us with the 7 seed there.
You would think, and then they throw in another asterisk, and then
tiebreaker. Be like, yeah, well, back in 1994, you didn't win this many.
You would think. I can't figure it out.
But I think that's how it would be if you were to if the Sooners were able to pull off the upset tonight, and then we were able to take care of business on Saturday. I think we would, at the very minimum, be the 7 seed. Don't quote me on that, but I think that would be it. And like you mentioned, you're playing at a lot better times. Obviously, people are going to be working. We don't want to be playing at that Thursday at noon, Thursday at 2:30. If you get to that, say if you get to that 6 or 7 seed, you play at 7 or 9:30. I know some of Big Blue Nation may not want to stay up till 9:30, but guess what? You get to avoid Bama for at least, or not Bama, but you get to avoid Auburn, which would be for a couple more games. So
yeah,
I just can't stress the importance on this game. I know you might look at it, and just for bracketology, it might not make a huge difference whether they win or lose because they won't get knocked down as much. But if you win this game, I think this almost solidifies you as a 3 seed. Obviously, with the Jackson Robinson injury, they might take that into account and maybe make you one of the first 4s. But this game is huge, and it would be, for confidence-wise for this team to be able to do it without Jackson, on the road, hostile environment, I think it'd be huge for this team going into March.
Absolutely. And this week's bracketology still got Kentucky as a 3, and obviously, the news about Jackson came out Saturday, so I know Lunardi doesn't fully speak for the committee, but I think he does a pretty good job, and right now he's got Kentucky as a 3.
Yeah, and obviously we'd rather have the 3 than the 4. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Obviously, we got an SEC tournament to go through before then. That usually doesn't impact it too much. But if you were to make a deep run and beat some good teams, that could sway it a little bit as well. Obviously, we need to make our picks for this game. I'm on a heater.
Go for it. Keep it going. You always say I steal your thunder. Just go for it.
I don't want to go first. I don't want to go first on this one because I am on a heater. So I want you to go first. Keep the same mojo going.
All right. I go back and forth with the reverse jinx, but I truly mean it. I think Kentucky wins on Saturday. I think you found some good momentum Tuesday night. I think they take that down there and kind of roll with it. It's early, hopefully that arena's not as packed as maybe or as rowdy as it could be. And I mean, it's noon our time, right? So
yep.
Missouri's an hour behind. That's an 11 a.m. start for them. But yeah, I do think Kentucky wins. I'll say another kind of high scoring game. I'll go 88-84.
Let's see. And I was about to just read off, some of Missouri's last couple games here, how much they've been scoring as of late. Hung 110 on Alabama, 85 against Arkansas, 101 against South Carolina, and then 93 against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, maybe so
they've really been putting up numbers as of late. And obviously, we're not a defensive prowess team, even though we have been getting better on the defensive side of the ball. I want to pick the Cats to win this game. I really do. I don't want to go into the postseason with this negativity. So I'm going to pick the Cats to win this game. I'm going to say they find a way to get into the 90s for 2 straight games. I'm going to say they win 96-90 over the Missouri Tigers. Who is your MVP pick for this game?
This one, let's go. I haven't picked him in a while. I know it's a chalk pick, but I'll take Amari. I don't feel like I've picked Amari in a while. Yeah,
because there for a while, you could have made the case for Amari to get just every single MVP game. I don't really know, man. I mean, this is really a tough MVP pick because you get to the point where obviously now I can't pick Amari Williams.
Well, you know what? Take Amari. I'm going to switch mine. I'm going to take Lamont. This is going to be the Lamont is back game.
Yeah, and I think you and I both well know that you can always have Lamont for the MVP picks. I don't think you'll ever hear me picking Lamont for MVP in this game.
Well, that's my pick now. I'm taking Lamont. Just like I said, Ortega was going to have a bounce back game. This is going to be the one where we're like, all right, Lamont's getting healthier and healthier, and I think he's going to kind of dominate that point guard matchup.
Well, then how about I'll take the chalk. Give me Ortega. You picked him last game, and there he was. Ortega, how about he strings together back-to-back games? He hasn't done it for quite some time now, and really just gets himself ready for the SEC tournament and feels good because we really need him with that confidence. You see the way he plays differently when he doesn't have that Oklahoma confidence like he had. It's just a completely different player on both sides of the court. Give me Ortega. We had to go for 20-plus in this game. And, hey, we're feeling good about the offense if they score 95 against LSU and then 96 against Missouri.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, and I'm excited. I mean, we're here, Cam. This is, can you believe it? Last regular season game of the season. It feels like just yesterday I was, me and you were texting about whether we were going to hire Scott Drew or Dan Hurley, and now Mark Pope has done a heck of a job, and here we are finishing up the regular season, and yeah, let's go finish it with a bang and a big feel-good win again over Missouri.
Yeah, and I do want to say thank you to the seniors for just
absolutely
bringing life back into this Kentucky fan base. That was something that it was very evident from the moment Mark Pope got hired that, Kentucky, the state of Kentucky had their team back. You and I have talked about it for what feels like years, how I've kind of just been checked out. The Calipari seasons have been going, the same way for 4 to 5 years. And just having that, the significance of the name on the front of the chest versus the name on the back. It's been so nice to see, and it's really got the fan base reinvigorated. And I think you'll see that when it comes to, March time where we go down to Nashville. Obviously, Nashville is always, so big blue heavy. But, I mean, you're talking about 2 years in a row. They've been bounced in the first round. Obviously, Cats fans are going to be down there. I'll be one of them. If you see me, say hi. I might have 1 or 2 in me at that point, but I will still, of course, say hi to anyone. Thanks to the seniors. Obviously, Amari's been my favorite player. If you had to pick your favorite so far from the seniors, who do you got?
Well, I mean, it would have been Jackson. And I mean, it still
he
is.
Still counts.
But I've told you all year I really like Andrew Carr and I really like Lamont, and honestly I like all these guys. I mean, they all came here, they all kind of took a chance. Pope's never obviously been at this kind of level, and regardless of how this season ends, man, these guys are going to be one of my favorite groups, and just I have a lot of fond memories looking back on all these guys. Just think about some of the stuff that this group's done. I mean, Lamont Butler gives you one of the all-time performances against Louisville. You have Amari that had games that like hadn't happened here in forever. Fourth ever triple-double.
Yep.
The first player in like 15 years, NBA or NCAA, to have like a perfect game with however many points and rebounds and assists and like.
Shout out Pau Gasol.
Just all kinds of stuff. You have Otega. Well, I know he's not a senior, but Otega Owe going for 18 of the last 18 points to beat his old school. Like, just all these guys that came here. This has been a really special year, and hopefully like I said, we got quite a run in us in March, and we kind of extend the party for a little while longer. But this will be one of my favorite groups when I'm looking back on it in 10 years. I'll be talking about that Mark Pope first team.
Yeah, and it's just thinking about it in general. You've gotten a lot of stuff from the seniors. Obviously, this is the highest level a lot of these guys have played, and they're really not taking it for granted. Obviously, we're going to switch course a little bit here. Somebody who we're looking forward to getting into campus next year, hoping to get in campus, Nate Ament is taking a visit to Arkansas on Saturday. Unfortunately, we kind of need that visit to go somewhat well because we need Arkansas to win that game. What are you thinking about Nate Ament? I know I'm kind of throwing you on the spot here, but it seemed like everything was going Kentucky's way, and then he schedules this last minute, obviously the very last home game for Arkansas. It can't feel good. Usually when Calipari gets a guy on campus that late in the season, normally he tends to convert.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because Kentucky was like nowhere within, like he really wasn't even on our radar as like a possibility, and then all of a sudden he's taking a visit and he comes on campus and he watched us, win at Tennessee, and then he visits when Tennessee comes here and we win. Like, everything was kind of lining up. It was rumored Kentucky had the biggest NIL package for him, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's not just Cal. Like, you got to remember now, like Mr. Chicken Man down there will pay whatever. Like, he doesn't care about money. So, I mean, I could see, them offering him some just absolutely ridiculous package, but then, you can go be miserable in Fayetteville for a year, but, you're rich, so who cares?
True. All right. Well, I'll say that there's our recruiting update. That's really all we got. That's really all we got for you. Obviously, we don't got too much of the insides, but I will say Oklahoma is up 13 at half, 50-37 over the Tigers right now. So hopefully the Sooners pull that one out, and hopefully, the Cats pull it out down in Columbia. I'll be in Tampa, Florida watching that game, so I might be the only one wearing Kentucky blue there. But I will still.
There's plenty of UK fans in Tampa.
I don't know if they'll be at the Tampa airport, though. If I see them, trust me, I will send them to you, and I will make good friends with them. But I'm just looking forward to watching Kentucky basketball at least one last time for the regular season before I head down to Nashville to get ready for the SEC tournament and to see all the Kentucky Blue fans.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Like I said, we're here. This is where the season starts getting really fun. Let's hope it lasts a little longer than some of these past years.
Yeah, and we're going to be right here updating you on everything. We're here after every single game. Follow the Cats Talk podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Follow us wherever you get anything, any of your content. Boyers is your man. I'm your man here. I don't know if Tom's your man, honestly. We're not sure about that. But with all that being said,
we're going to have to talk about his contract at the end of the year.
Yeah, that contract, I don't know if it's getting renewed. I'm going to have to take it up to the higher-ups. I'm not sure that thing's getting renewed. But Cats need a big-time game, big-time win from some of these seniors that we're talking about. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.